Well, good morning, everybody. Hey, it's Linda Anderson here from Linda Lou Creates. Thank you, as always, for joining me. I seem to have forgotten my other light, so let me see if I can attach it. I'm going to do that and probably rock the camera. So I apologize, my fault for that. So, okay, let's see if that works. Anyway, I am doing a double sheet wonder. It's hard to not say one sheet wonder because normally it is, but this time I'm using two 6x6 sheets of designer series paper. And look, I'm only making 2 cards. I shouldn't say only because I think sometimes people get a little intimidated with one sheet wonders because you can get a lot of cards out of them. So this way, just with some fancy cutting, easy cutting, you can get 2 cards and 2 coordinating envelopes. So I think that's what the big kicker that I really liked about this double one sheet wonder. You get it, what it created so that I could have my envelopes then taken care of as well. So this is an example here. I have them also then done in the landscape mode here. By the way, the papers that I'm using are all free with a qualifying purchase during celebration. So you can make a lot of these cards if you want and need. Now I have only one of this style of card because I've already sent out the other one. So I only have one left. But anyway, yeah, I used the Delightfully Eclectic paper with these cards. I'm going to use it again for the samples we're going to create, the cards we're going to make. This is the Sunny Days paper then too. So you just have to be a little careful if it is directional, but I have I'm going to just show you how to do it where it does not matter the direction. So I kind of like that. Makes it easier on all of us. So, all right, so let me get these all going here. There we go. Okay, so let's start first with the designer series paper. So like I said, this is from that Delightfully Eclectic paper. I have 2 6x6 pieces from that. It's 12 by 12, but obviously I just cut it down. So let me bring in my paper trimmer, and here we go. I want to make sure I'm in the screen. Good. So I just have the 2 pieces stacked one on top of the other. Now, the first thing I want to do is cut at 2.5. This is the piece then that is going to be used for the envelope. All right, so there we go. Here are my 2 pieces, the 2.5 by 6 that I'm going to use on my envelope. So let me set these aside. I'll show you that in a second. So now, if that was 2.5, we now have 3.5 by 6. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn it and put the 6-inch side up into my trimmer. And I'm going to cut first at 1 inch. Now this piece, I'm going to cut it right now, and I'm going to cut it at 2.5. Or I'm looking over here on this side of my paper trimmer, I'm doing it at 1 inch. So I'm cutting 1 inch off of this piece here. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to leave them stacked together for right now, and then that way. Now I have this piece that I am actually going to cut a couple little strips off because we're going to use this entire 6x6 sheet of paper. And I wanted to do 2 cuts that are going to seem a little weird, but they are for the inside. All right. Now, what I'm going to start with is I'm going to cut at 5/8. So I'm coming over here on this side of my paper trimmer. 5/8. So that's 5/8 by 3.5 and another 5/8. So those strips are going to be used for the inside of my paper, or excuse me, the inside of my card. So 5/8, what I should have over here now is 3 3/4. So I don't know if you prefer looking at it on this direction. I'm looking at my 5/8 inch on this side of my paper trimmer. So there we go. So like I said, I now have this piece is 3 3/4 by 3.5. So I am going to turn this so that I have the 3.5, the shorter side, up at the top. And now I'm going to make a 1-inch cut. And we are done with cutting. All right, so refer back to this video as much so that you can get all of this get it in straight in your head. So here is the direction, or here's how we're going to lay out our paper. The only thing I want to do is kind of mishmash it up as far as the designs go. So that's why I have 2 pieces. I want to make 2 cards. So I'm going to keep this flower strip here and move the geometric one over to here. I want to keep the flower one here, geometric here. And now the flower is going to go over here and the geometric here. So now I have my 2 cards. You most definitely can change it up. You can certainly have all of the same pattern. If you prefer the flowers, you most definitely could do all flowers on this one, all geometric on this one. All right. You can also, what I'm going to do is make mine portrait style. You most definitely can have it go horizontal. All right, so you can mix this up however you want. You can move the big piece over to here, the smaller piece here. This is another fun option here. So do the way you like to do it. All right, so I'm going to go back to the way I had it. Do a little puzzle making here. And this is how I am going to do mine. And I am doing them portrait style. So, all right, so let me move these off to the side so that I can bring in the supplies so we can make these cards. Let me point something out here. Let me get this bigger piece. I do believe, since it is the color that is mentioned on this pack of paper, I think that's Cajun Craze. However, I'm pulling in Berry Burst for my card base because I'm thinking this is what I would rather use than the Cajun Craze for this. So, so this is my top folding card here. Oh, it is not. I'm sorry. This one I'm making. I could make it top folding or go portrait style. But I think my plan was to have it go horizontal here to go landscape. Oops. That's because my next card I have it going. So portrait style. But anyway, doesn't matter. Here we go. I have a piece, actually 2 pieces of basic white that measure 5 by 3 3/4. This is what I'm going to adhere my strips on. I have a layer of black that is just 1/8 of an inch bigger, so that means it's 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. I have 2 of those. I have my envelopes, and I have my 2 pieces of white that are going to go on the inside of my cards. Sentiment-wise, that's the thrill of this. You can make these anything that you want. Now, here is what I did with I'm going to do with mine. I have the sentiment is from this stamps bundle, rather, that is, again, a celebration set. It comes with this, and it comes with a embossing folder. So I'm using the sentiment from here for my, you can see that postage style die. It is from the Perennial Postage bundle as well. Let me open that up, and here are those dies here. So, all right, so let's get to making this, because I feel like I'm fumbling around, and let's just get going on it. Here we go. Let's start with gluing these down. I always like to start with this bigger piece. This is the one that measures 2.5 by 3 3/4. So I'm going to put this one over here. Never be afraid to switch this up, and I'm going to show you what I mean here in a moment. As far as where you put your pieces of Designer Series paper. So this 1-inch strip is going to go down here. I'm just eyeballing it, trying to get it to be lined up with the first piece that I put down. Now I have another 1-inch strip that's going to go up here. And then that little 1x1 square that's going to fill in this bottom piece right here. Okay, this will go down now to the black layer, and then we're going to put it down to the card. Then we'll get to work on the other one. So once you get those pieces cut and then laid in the direction and order that you want it to be, this goes super fast. Okay. And this is the direction I want. All right, so now here again is my 5 by 3 3/4. So let me bring this one in that I just did. I'm going to actually switch it up and put my large square over on the right side. All right, so that's what I mean. You can definitely make this however you prefer. So that's what's the beauty of all of this is. So I'm going to just turn it. So sorry, until I can get this first one down, so I can see all the sides and you're not watching my hand cover up everything. Okay, here's that 1-inch strip, the longer of the two. It will go right down here at the bottom. The other, excuse me, the shorter of the 1-inch strips. Now I do like to lay them out like I had done, just until make sure that it's the way I want it to be, as opposed to just starting to grab and adhere down these strips. So make sure you have it laid out in the design and the pattern that you want first. So, and then here's my little 1-inch square. So like I said, you can see how quickly this is going to get put together. I'm going to put this down to the black. And adhere this down to the card base. I am going to show you another example that I thought about here after this one. So hang with me until the end, just to show you another option of what you can do. So this is the way I'm doing it, with that large rectangle being up at on the right side here, as opposed to this one. Find where you want to pop up your sentiment, any sentiment. That's what's fun, is you can go through your stash, look at what you have sentiment wise, Die wise, if you like, you don't even need to use a die. If you want to just cut it out, you know, using your paper trimmer, a paper strip, anything that you can definitely then get your sentiment on. All right, so from here, I'm going to go ahead and add a few of my favorite festive pearls. I think I'm going to go with the silver on this one. And all I'm going to do is, I'm not sure. Let's put them all right here to highlight the sentiment. There we go. I like that. Sometimes if my paper is too busy, this is what I'll do instead. Just kind of highlight the sentiment with my embellishments, as opposed to coming down on the paper. So, because then they get lost. Inside, I have my strips. Those are those 5/8 of an inch wide strips that we cut. So what I'm doing is just stacking them because, let me find my paper for the inside. Yep, this is it. What I'm thinking of doing is having them stack this way. So since they are both the same size, I am going to trim off however much you want to trim off so that I have one of the strips just a little bit shorter than the other. So let me show you what I mean here, because this is moving all around on me. So let me just show you this one and you'll get the idea. I like to send out cards with like a thinking of you, hello, something like that. And then I'll write my own message on it. So that's what I like to do most. But let me show you here. And now I'm just going to stack these one on top of the other, kind of offset. And then let's just go ahead and adhere this one in so you can see what it's going to look like. I've got all kinds of things that I'm dragging in here. My desk is not as messy as usual. It's still messy, but not like it usually is. But things are still kind of falling into screen here. So there we go. There's the inside. I still have room for my message. And I have the cute papers, which you know I love to do, is to highlight all the designer series papers. And the paper was free. This paper, this Delightfully Eclectic, you get a huge amount in there. So you could make a ton of cards with that. So the other one would be done the same way. Let me just move this out of the way because I did not show you yet the envelope. So here are those 2.5 inch strips that we cut off first thing. So what I like to do is come to my envelope. Now that you might, it's going to depend. I am using the medium envelopes from Stampin' Up. So you might use a different brand of envelope. So this Double Sheet Wonder may not work exactly the same way for you. You might need to adjust according to your envelope size, the flap. So keep that in mind. So I just like to get that glued down. I'm going to give that a moment to dry while I glue the other one down. I prefer doing it right here on the flap. I do like the liquid glue so that I can shimmy it around as I need to. And let me bring this one back in. Now I open up my flap. I like using the long scissors that I have for this, and I am just going to come around and just trim it off. It doesn't take much in order to trim it. Make sure you turn your paper, not your scissors. when you go around those those corners there, those rounded corners. Well, let's do it this way. All right, and here is your beautiful flap for your envelope. We're going to do that with the other one as well. And our 2 cards are going to be done. Well, I still have to put the inside in the one, but like I said, I didn't want you to have to see me do the same thing twice. So, and here is the envelope for the second one. This is what I like to do, is which card goes. I base it on whichever one has this, the large rectangle, is the one that I will then coordinate with that envelope, if that makes sense. So, all right, let me show you one more thing here, because I do want to quickly get these made. This is again that Delightfully Eclectic paper. This time I used 2 of the same sheets, this with the Fresh Freesia, the white and the black. Instead of doing a second sheet of the 6x6 DSP to create my second piece, I guess, my second design within there, I used cardstock. So you can certainly do that. So for this one, I thought the pattern, I loved the pattern the way it was. I really wanted to highlight and pull out that black that was in this paper. So I cut a piece of black cardstock. Well, actually 2 pieces. I cut them, remember when we cut that 2.5 inches off and we were left with what, 3.5 inches by 6? That's what I cut my cardstock at, so that I could then trim it down into the strips that I needed. And then, I'm sorry, I only had 1 piece. I think I said I had 2. I had 1 piece of the DSP that was 6x6. I actually had to then get another piece of the Designer Series paper, 2.5 inches by 6, just to cover my second envelope since I was making 2 cards. But as far as the black cardstock goes, I just needed 1 piece that was 3.5 by 6. I cut it down into my strips. Then I ran it through my embossing folder. Now this embossing folder was the one that I had mentioned was part of this bundle, this Softly Sophisticated, which is a celebration item. So if you're interested in any of the celebration papers, any of the bundles, stamp sets, hurry up, place a qualifying order and you'll be able to get yours. So this, just like I said, I wanted to show how it could be done with cardstock instead. So this is the one that I want to do with my top folding card base. So I had myself all confused before. So Fresh Freesia, top folding, that means it is 11 by 4.25. The score is at 5.5. Now inside I did have some scrap pieces of this DSP pattern, so I went ahead and I used that. That is actually what is on the other side of this beautiful. This one's my favorite, I gotta tell you. And surprisingly, there is purple in it. So yeah, that's the surprising thing. So here I have my 3 3/4 by 5 inch piece of white. I have my 3 3/4 by 2.5 piece here that I am going to go ahead and adhere down. And this way, like I said, I just want you to see what it's going to look like with cardstock. You would not need to have to do the embossing that I did on it. It could certainly just be plain. That would be fine too. I just like embossing because it adds a little texture to the paper, something fun to look at, and you're not really adding any additional papers or anything like that. So let me turn this to the side. Now this is my 1 inch strip here by 3 3/4. This is 1 inch by 2.5. And here is next, which when I had these cut up ahead of time, I kept losing this one by one. So there we go. So see how you can just play with this and make it however you want. Now let me go ahead and adhere this down. I have the black, which is 1/8 of an inch bigger. That means it's that 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And then I'm gonna put this down to the Fresh Freesia card base. Okay. I do cards for work as far as sending to students and their families for various reasons. You know, if there's for sympathy cards or thinking of you, an injury, anything that kind of happens to some of our students. I teach martial arts, and so I send the thank you cards at Christmas time for the goodies that they always give us. So things like that. So I thought what would be great is to make up a bunch of these cards to the point where I was before I put the sentiment down. And then as I needed, I would make up the sentiments, and I would have cards kind of already made that I would then be able to send out quickly. So this is going to be then a sympathy card is how I decided to make this. So this is really, I love the look of that using the cardstock. Now you have an option, because your paper is double-sided. You can always use the other side as your paper to display. However, in this case, I probably would mix this up, change this out, make it Fresh Freesia that I've embossed, and then, you know, kind of change my colors around a bit. So lots of options here. Really going to look cool with the cardstock or with paper, with your pattern paper. So any of the above. So here we go. Here is I have one ready. I would probably again pop a couple of my festive pearls on here as well. And let me get those down. Let's go put it right here on the sentiment. See if I do have one on there. And there we go. So there is the next card, using again cardstock instead of the designer series paper. All right, let me bring in some of the other ones that I showed you earlier. So here are the other ones that we made. So with their coordinating envelope, let me make sure I can get these all in. And then this set of cards here, I had it cut out. Both of these were cut out 6 by 6 here, and this one was a 6 by 6. This is the other side of this. And I'm like, well, let's just see what the flowers look like. So this is still a double sheet wonder. I just used the other side here to create that one. So, all right. I have here, now it is the directional paper that you do have to, like I said, sort of play with there. And then the one that I have left of this one, because I sent the other one out already. So I just love the idea that you can coordinate it with your envelope and still only use just the 6 by 6 and use all of it. So Anyways, hey guys, thank you so much for putting up with me today. I know I ran a little longer than I normally do, so I appreciate that you still hanging with me. And if you have any questions regarding celebration, make sure to let me know. Get orders in before the end of the month, because then celebration and all this fun free stuff is over. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you next week. Bye now.